Well, Katie, thanks again for coming on the program. It's good talking to you.
No problem. Thanks
And
for having me.
my pleasure. A couple of great columns at townhall.com to talk about. The first one, Obama aims in the wrong direction on gun control. We certainly have seen a big push ever since Sunday afternoon when President Obama's op-ed appeared in the Arizona Daily Star down in Tucson. A big push for additional gun control legislation. Mayor Bloomberg and a host of anti-gun congressmen holding a news conference on Capitol Hill. And I thought it was interesting, Katie, you actually went to college in Tucson, right?
I did, yes. I graduated in May of 2010, so very recently.
And so you saw this in your, as you say, your college town newspaper talking about the need for more gun control laws. What's your take?
I did read through it, and it seems, like I said in my column, that the Obama administration is trying to make this look like he's coming to the middle on this, and the PR campaign that they're running is their goal is to make gun owners look unreasonable by, disagreeing with some of the things that they've offered through this. But I feel like the president is kind of targeting the wrong issue here. He's targeting guns. He uses Jared Loughner as an example of a criminal who got his hands on a gun when he says his whole goal is to prevent that. But the truth is that Jared Loughner fell through the cracks of law enforcement multiple times after he charged death threats against fellow students and radio hosts, and there were multiple complaints at his Pima Community College, which is where he went to school, and he was kicked out of that school. Yet the sheriff department didn't really do much about it. So the idea that President Obama wants to give the government more authority and more responsibility in enforcing or imposing more laws upon law-abiding citizens through, whatever they want to do, just seems like they're not really targeting the correct issue here. But I don't believe that President Obama has really ever understood what the Second Amendment means, and we've seen his record in the past showing that he's very anti-gun. So it's hard for me to believe that he's really trying to come to the middle on this issue.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you point out, there's a story that was starting to get some mainstream attention towards the end of last week, and that is ATF Operation Fast and Furious, the operation that allegedly allowed suspected gun traffickers to purchase, with ATF approval, guns here in the United States and then transport them across the border into Mexico. Jay Carney, the White House press secretary, was asked about this late last week, said, I don't really have anything to say on it. And yet, there's all this to say about law-abiding legal gun owners. Do you think, Katie, that I don't know, that it's just a coincidence that as Operation Fast and Furious started to get media attention, now all of a sudden President Obama wants to talk gun control for you and I?
Exactly. I think they're trying to portray this in a way that Barack Obama's coming to the center. He's not really about taking your rights away, but what we've seen in these allegations and this reports that are coming out about this operation with the gun trafficking is that the Obama administration, in conjunction with the Justice Department and Homeland Security, even though they're denying that they knew anything about this operation, have been using law-abiding gun shop owners as a scapegoat, blaming them for the violence in Mexico when they were following the law and reporting suspicious sales to ATF, and ATF was greenlighting them. So it is interesting timing coming out of the White House to finally come out and say, well, we should probably talk about this and get ahead of the issue in a positive light and put our spin on it before this investigation gets any further.
Yeah, and it's odd to me. We saw all of the Congress critters assembled on Capitol Hill, Carolyn McCarthy and John Conyers and the rest, and not one of them, Katie, brought up Fast and Furious. And
Yep.
you would think, as they're talking about laws that allow guns to fall into the wrong hands, you'd think that perhaps they'd be a little concerned about this.
Right, and it's just interesting how they once again make the issue about the guns when really the issue, especially in the case of the Fast and Furious thing, it's an issue of government incompetency. And for them to try and pin this on law-abiding citizens and making us come to the middle on this when, like he said in his own op-ed, the majority of gun owners are very responsible in this country. And for them to say that we need to come to the center when the government was clearly breaking the law if these allegations are proven true, giving the government more authority over the Second Amendment doesn't really seem like a very good idea.
Yeah, and you know, and it's interesting, Katie. You talked about the sort of PR campaign that we're witnessing here, and in the op-ed that President Obama wrote, trying to appear like he's playing it right down the middle.
Hmm.
The other side of this, of course, is that if you're going to play it down the middle, you need somebody to carry your water for you, and I think we're seeing this on Congress, on Capitol Hill, because today we heard all kinds of things that President Obama did not mention in that op-ed. We heard about the need to ban magazines that are capable of holding more than 10 rounds. We
Hmm.
talked about the need to ban all private transfer of firearms. We
Hmm.
talk, we heard from the gun control groups. They're still out there advocating what they've been advocating for years and years. You have this sense that Obama writes this op-ed, appears to appears to be above the fray, and then the sycophants and the people who agree with President Obama are out there, carrying the ball and carrying the water a little bit farther.
Right. We saw the Brady campaign come out immediately after the ATF story got bigger, and saying that the government needs to have more safeguards to prevent criminals from getting guns in their hands. When really, in this case, if again proven true, the government was putting the guns in the criminals' hands. So regardless of how many safeguards or regulations you have, no matter what, if the government's not going to enforce the law on their end and be above the law, and then use law-abiding citizens as a scapegoat, it's never going to work, and it's never going to keep criminals off the streets and criminals from getting guns in their hands.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Katie, keep up the great reporting. I'm curious, what has the reaction been at townhall.com?
It's been pretty positive. I think this story is, like you said, is not getting a whole lot of mainstream media press, so I think that people, the thing is that the majority of Americans believe in the Second Amendment, no matter what side of the aisle you're on. There's a very small percentage of people who do not believe in the right to bear arms. So although our website leans to the conservative side on the Second Amendment issue, there's a lot of Americans who can really come together on this. So it's gotten a pretty positive review, I think.
All right. Well, Katie, keep up the great work. Look forward to talking again soon.
Yep, sounds good. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye.